do if someone tells you something can't be done? Do you just say, okay? Or if you really feel that you want to do it, do you find a way to move forward? We're going to talk about that. Welcome to another episode of The Good, Bad, and Ugly of Business. I am your host, Catryn Becker. And on this podcast, we talk to all sorts of successful people because we want to learn what they have learned in their career that has brought them so much success. Because behind every successful person is a mountain of failures, wrong turns, U-turns, dead ends. But we learn from them and we grow from them. And by listening to this podcast, you can learn and grow together with us. My guests with an S, I have two guests today are bringing so much great knowledge and wisdom. I have a father and son duo out of New Jersey. I have Kenneth Hill Sr. and Kenneth Hill Jr. So stick with me as I try to ask which one the right question. But they bring with them so much great experience. Kenneth Sr. has been a stuntman for many years, and he's going to let us know some incredible stories around that. And his son, Kenneth Jr., has endured some diagnosis, some health scares that people said you can't move forward, and yet he has found a way and has come to great success with martial arts and teaching other people that they can do it too, that it's possible for them. So the Kenneths, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
We are so glad to have you here as well. Like I said in the intro, I have not had a father and son duo before, so I'm really excited to have you guys both here together, and just to be seeing you both is really wonderful.
Thank you. Same here.
It's great to be here.
So Kenneth Sr., I'm going to start with you on my first question. So you have been in stunts for years, for decades. How did you find your way into that profession?
Well, as a kid, watching the Westerns, that's what I grew up with, TV Westerns. I became inspired by a TV show called The Range Rider. And they always did stunts through the whole episode, every episode. And that's what really got my interest, to be a stuntman.
But then how does one see this on TV and think, I'm going to find a way to do that? Because many of us have seen things on TV and then never take that next step forward to figure it out.
Well, I tell you, I never thought I would, to be honest with you, because it was like, it's Hollywood, all that kind of thing. But as the years went by, I just kept that interest. I became a police officer first. In 67 is when I was hired. But that kind of thing, the stuntman, and finally hooked up with a few guys in California, of course, who were in the business, and went from there. I went and visited them, and got to talking to them. They showed me different things, how to present myself, if I may say the names, like Bob Miner, Lee Diebold, and John Hagner. And just through the years, I became more interested in it, since I thought I knew everything, but I didn't know everything.
Yeah.
But I finally got into a few movies that, some guys would pull you into it, as they call it. And I got a few roles in big blockbuster movies, you might say, as The Italian Job.
Love that movie.
Die Hard with a Vengeance, the third one.
Love it.
I did a lot of car stuff in both of those. And I, of course, made appearances on TV, a little bit in Magnum PI. But like I was on Law and Order 4 times, I believe it was, and New York Undercover also. So, and a few others that came and went.
So what I find so interesting about the stunt person profession when it comes to Hollywood is the stunt person is not meant to be seen. You're on the big screen, but not on the big screen.
Right. Yes. Yeah, of course, you shoot at an angle where you're not recognized, or you could realize that he's doubling the actor, but he's not the actor,
Right.
But with me, I didn't double anybody. It was me. I was doing the stunt for the part I had. So I can't say I had a big star that I doubled for.
So you were doing the stunts that required for the larger scene, not necessarily for that specific actor.
Right, correct.
I find that so amazing, because the reason that stunt people exist is because it's dangerous stuff to do.
That's correct. Yeah.
And being a police officer, that's also a dangerous profession. You're putting your life on the line. So here are two professions that you've had where you're essentially risking life and limb.
Yes. It had a few car chases as a cop too, of course.
That was practice, right?
And of course, they're not choreographed, and to where the people you're in traffic with, pursuit of, they don't know what's happening. That you are. It's not like it's a movie or a TV episode. You know what I mean?
Right, where someone's directing and choreographing all of
Exactly
the
right.
action.
You said it right there. Correct.
So
Hey,
switching to Kenneth Jr., how did you feel about your dad as a stuntman? Like, what was that like growing up?
Well, I thought it was cool, but at the same time, I didn't think it was anything I wanted to do.
yeah,
Especially high falls. That's something else he's great at. Just falling off buildings onto what to me looks like, a little matchbox
Oh,
from height. And I was like, I don't see the reason for that. So no, thank you. I don't want to do anything like that.
I was talking to the gentleman before this about the movie that just came out with Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, The Fall Guy, which they've not seen yet. But in the movie, there's this part where Ryan Gosling is the stunt man and he keeps giving a thumbs up after every stunt. Is
yes,
that something that's real for the industry? Like after it's done, like they're like, yeah, I'm okay, thumbs up.
exactly right. Yes, they say it's good. It was a good, and I did it right. That kind of thought.
Oh, that's so interesting. So as the two main characters, Ryan Gosling playing the lead and Emily Blunt playing the female lead, and their kind of interplay, she was getting frustrated with him of this whole, stunt guy, thumbs up, macho-ness. And there's this pivotal moment in the movie where he's like, I do the thumbs up, but it still hurts. It all still hurts.
Oh yeah.
So
Some
is it a painful thing?
did I beg your pardon?
Is it a painful process going through these stunts? I mean, falling out of doing a high fall onto something, like you're still landing.
Yeah,
That hurts.
the high fall, you don't get hurt so much anymore because you have the airbags. But years ago, it was like a lot of where things were dug out, and you had like a mattress, cardboard boxes, and that kind of thing. And if you didn't fall right, it might feel like a whiplash to a point. So it was like, you had to be ready for it, but you were still like thumbs up, okay,
Yeah.
that you went through it, you survived it as it goes,
I
But
am
yeah,
so glad to validate that point of the movie. So thank you.
it's somewhat dangerous. Yeah.
I am going to tell my kids this because now they think they can be stunt people.
Yes. It's like, don't try this at home unless you're taught by a professional,
Yeah.
really.
Trained professionals, truly.
Yes. Not that you don't have the ability, but it's still the idea of doing it right. So you get up and do it again.
Absolutely.
That's the
Absolutely.
point.
But isn't that life though, right? Like we're all trained in something. They're all hard moments that we face and times where we stumble or fall or get hurt, whether physically or emotionally, mentally, but we still have to get back up again.
Yes. Just get back up, get back in there. That's what you want to do. You try it again. Yeah.
Where did you find your sort of drive to keep getting back up again? Do you have a strong faith? Does it come from, someone who supported you in your life? Like, or is it just completely internal? Like, what kept you going?
I think a lot of confidence. And then
Hmm.
you hear from people around you that, why do you want to do that? You still do that. And even though you increased in age over the years, it's like, why do you want to still do that? Because I think because I can, and that's
Hmm.
still my desire, and I still would like to continue to do it to a point. I'd like to work a Western. It's like, that's that's the last one I want to do.
We got to make that happen for you.
Work a Western. Well, thank you. Hope
We
so.
gotta make that happen. But you're still working as a stuntman today, right?
Work at a theme park up in North Jersey called Wild West City. And they do stunts and we ride horses. You know, I don't do that too much anymore, but I still played at one of the marshals in the town, and we have shootouts, all kinds of gunfights. You know, we do the OK Corral. James Gang comes to town to rob the bank. Sundance Kid comes to town to take over the town, and all those kind of episodes, you know. So it's still a lot of fun doing that, but I plan to retire at the end of September this year.
All right.
To try to get back into more of that and maybe do a Western.
I love that so much. I love that so much. All right, switching back to Junior here, who had told me offline that his nickname was Pork Chop, and I am really struggling with calling him Pork Chop. So I am doing my best, y'all. So you mentioned that you were bullied a lot as a kid and that you were overweight, not in the best health, nicknamed Pork Chop. But now you have how many certifications in martial arts, how many masters levels? I'm not even sure the right terminology for all of the things that you've been able to accomplish since then.
Yeah, I have 5 black belts now, and 2 of them are master belt levels.
Wow.
One of my certifications for one of my first degree black belts is through South Korea, which I was very blessed in 2015 to be selected to even take that test. Because once a year, the instructors from South Korea fly to the US to New Jersey to conduct this test that you would normally have to fly to South Korea for.
Wow.
And I was one of 5 in my school to be selected to go, and all 5 of us went, and all 5 of us were successful in passing. And everybody says, well, you're disabled. How could you meet the requirements? Well, I'm grateful that things have changed where, because I have the problems that I have with my legs, doing 300 jumping jacks without stopping would be pretty much impossible for me.
Well,
So
let's circle back before you go deeper into that, because we haven't even gotten to the disabled part yet. So the listeners are probably like, wait, what? You've got 5 black belts and you're disabled? Hold the phone.
Yeah.
Well, going back to my disability, I actually didn't know I was disabled until my early 30s. But a decade before that, I had not 1 but 4 doctors tell me to stop martial arts, which I started at the age of 9. And they said, look, you're destroying your ankles. I didn't break them, but I was doing everything else: sprains, strains, twists, turns, you name it. They said, with the surgery and you ceasing from martial arts training, you will be in a wheelchair by the age of 35. They said, if you continue and do not have the surgery, it'll be sooner. Well, one of the things my mom, said to me that she didn't think I paid attention to is she said, I don't care if there's 100 people in a room and they're all against you, you stand your ground for what you believe. So I told all 4 of them no. A decade later is when I found out I was born with a hereditary neuropathy called, it's a very weird name, Charcot-Marie tooth disease, or CMT.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah. Now, of course, when people hear tooth disease, they think it's something with your hygiene, but it's really not. It's a neuropathy. It's on my mom's side of the family. And we have one of the kind of peculiar kind of strains where it's all X-linked. So it's CMT1X is the classification. The reason why it's X-linked is because it can only be passed on the X chromosome. So my sister doesn't have it at all. What also makes it unique is the women that are diagnosed with it don't show physical symptoms. They just carry the gene for it. My mom's the only girl out of 10. All 9 of her brothers have it.
Oh, wow.
All 9 of her brothers suffered physically like I do, which means that both parents had it because the boys could only get it from their mom, and my mom could only get it from her dad.
Oh, wow. Genetics
Yeah,
is fascinating, man.
yeah. Now I'm the only male in my generation that has it because I'm the only son, and all of my cousins, they because they're not on the X chromosome, because they can't get that from their fathers, they're all fine.
They're all fine, huh? So Ken Sr., when you heard about his diagnosis and that the doctors are telling him he's got to have surgery and he's saying no, what's going through your mind?
Well, I guess you said it was a little hard to take at first. And
Sure.
you might have felt like sorry about it, but he always showed it, don't feel sorry for me. And he's a grown man now, at that time when he was
Yeah.
diagnosed. So it's like, well, whatever you think you should do or want to do, how you want to handle it, what can I tell you? We just hope for the best.
But isn't that what's so hard about being a parent? Like,
Yeah.
they're still always your babies, even when they're grown.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Because I call him kid all the time anyway. Still do, always will, I guess.
I mean, that's the interesting thing. Like, the age gap is going to always be there.
Yes. Correct.
None of that ever changes.
Forever. Yeah.
Okay, so now that we understand the disability, how does that affect you on a day-to-day basis? I mean, you obviously didn't have the surgery. You're still doing martial arts. What is the kind of effects that you experience on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I have trouble walking, so a big part of it's because of something called foot drop. There's a muscle that runs along the front of your shin that helps you to keep your foot parallel to the floor when you lift it.
Mm.
Well, because of that lack of muscle, my toes actually will point down. So tripping and falling was just a regular thing that would happen. There are orthotics that I wear on my foot now that when I pick my foot up, it keeps my foot parallel to the floor, so it reduces how much I trip and fall. I use a cane because I got tired of taking field sobriety tests.
Oh, God.
because I can walk just using the orthotics, but I don't walk a straight line, so it looks like I've had too many to drink. And I got tired of taking field sobriety tests, so I started using the cane because the officer's like, "Oh, okay, well, we see you have something physically wrong with you," instead of we're thinking that you just left the bar. And probably one of the funniest episodes is when I did take a field sobriety test and they had me blow into the tube and it was zeros. He thought there was something wrong with his device and
Oh
took me
my
to the
gosh.
state. He took me to the station to do it there. And when he saw zeros, then he believed, okay, well, maybe you got something else going on and you weren't under the influence.
That is wild. You couldn't like name drop your dad's name and be like, come on, I'm, part of the blue too.
When I was a kid, yes. But as I got older, that's nice that he was an officer and he's retired now, but what about you? How many drinks have you really had? It's like, no, I haven't had any. So because I don't even drink, so but they didn't want to hear that.
Oh man, I mean, people kind of see what they want to see sometimes, right?
Yes, I've had the police called on me several times just because of the way I was walking, and there were 17 years that I spent as a professional truck driver. So I've been to 46 states in Canada, and there were people that called because they said, yeah, I think that truck driver, which, oh yeah, just huge alarms, it's like they emptied the precinct because
Sure.
all they're thinking is this under the influence driver in this tractor trailer can kill a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then my dad gave me great advice. He said, take your medical records with you, a copy of them. And so now when I would tell him, hey, I had this wrong, because he told me, he said, look, as a police officer, we've heard it all. But the medical records they couldn't dispute because it's got the doctor's heading on it. And so that's what I would do. And I would tell them, no, I can show you my medical records. And when I showed it to them, they all said the same thing. Like, what is this? We've never heard of it. Next thing I know, I'm giving a lesson to law enforcement of what this is and what it does and how to, and they're like, okay, well, have a great day, drivers. Sorry to bother you, that kind of thing.
Can you imagine if you'd been a pilot?
Oh yeah.
About that.
Yeah.
All the passengers would be like whispering to each other, like, "Shh, shh, did you see that? Oh my gosh." Well, it's amazing that you have such a great attitude and outlook on it, because it could be easy to just be like, I was dealt this rotten hand, like it's the worst, and just have a really negative attitude. But you and I have talked several times now, and you are always so positive. And I mean, I'm sure you're human, so I'm sure you have times where it's not always rainbows and sunshine. But how do you keep such a positive outlook with this, and keep going and inspiring so many other people?
Well, I'm like this now. I always say the first half of my life was not good. It was a disaster. I was angry all the time, but I also didn't have answers as to what was wrong. And once I started getting answers, and also I got clean because I didn't realize I was depressed and I was doing drugs, I was drinking, I was just around the wrong people. And once I made that shift of I didn't want to live like this anymore, is when things started to turn around for me. And I developed a sense of humor where I learned how to laugh at myself first. It's easy to make fun of everybody else, but that now everything that I do, even when I teach, I make it humorous and make it fun, because I realized so many people, and I was one of them, they always celebrate the victories, but they never celebrate the journey.
Mhm.
And I celebrate the journey. I have fun every day. I don't have bad days, just good days and better days.
Nelson Mandela has a quote that I love, and it's something to the effect of, I never lose, I either win or I learn.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
And
I'm
Yeah.
right there with it.
it sounds like you lived that.
Yeah.
You continue to live that.
Yeah, but I had to decide to be different, because the the counselor that I had when I went into rehab, she said, I know you're going to do well because you came in here on your own.
Mm.
And I said, well, I've noticed that from going to the meetings, how many people have been here multiple times. And it's because, they did it for a family member, or it was court ordered, or they figured, okay, let's make it look good. I'll go now, and people will get off my back, and then I'll just go back to doing what I want later on. But she said, with you walking in the door and saying, look, I need help, I don't know what else to do because everything I'm trying isn't working. She said, I know you'll be fine. And she's right. I've been clean ever since.
Mm. And it's such a strength to be able to be that vulnerable and to say, I need help.
Yeah. I actually scared the nurse when I came in because I was wearing a kill 'em all like God sort of mouth shirt. So
And for the audio listeners at the moment, his shirt says, "That's a terrible idea," in big bold letters, and then underneath says, "What time?" So your taste in shirts hasn't changed.
Yeah. Well, but, my kids are like that too, and I'm glad they have a sense of humor even through their struggles. Because one of my favorite shirts they got me, which says, "I'm not angry. That's just my face."
But I love what you said, and I think it's so relevant for anyone at any point in their life, is the anger and frustration comes when we don't have clarity. You didn't have the answers, and there's so much peace that can comes from getting clarity on whatever the situation is, because then you have a direction to go towards.
Right.
You see the destination, and and then the second thing you said that I really love is that you made a choice.
Yes.
It was a conscious decision that you
That-
made to change how you were.
Yeah. Because that's the only way it works.
It's the only way it works. And people think that they're that we're like concrete statues or something, that we can't be changed once we've been formed. And that's, I think that's it's a faulty belief. Yeah.
I believe it. Yes.
Yeah, gosh, you guys are so much fun. This has been such a fun conversation. I just have a few more questions before we wrap up and I let you get back to your day. But now, so you've been in martial arts for a long time, Junior, but I see from the bio that Senior, you've gotten into martial arts a little bit as well. So were you inspired by your son, or were you doing it before, just not to the level he was?
I didn't do it to the level my son did. And I didn't practice it like he has, or come close to practicing it or doing it. But I always liked it. You know, I guess you'd say you have to start with a Bruce Lee or Chuck Norris, you know, to inspire and get you interested in it, let's say.
Yeah.
And it was just a cool profession, but I guess I just didn't have that thing to go forward with it, you know, all the physical training that you had to do. I thought stunt work was a little less physical, but enough for me to accomplish, you know, that kind of thing.
Right, absolutely. And you mentioned Chuck Norris, and I can see behind you, Junior, that you've got a Chuck Norris, I don't know if it's a book or a poster. Tell me about your love and admiration of Chuck Norris.
When I first saw him in the movies, you know, with Bruce Lee, I was like, that guy's pretty good, you know? And the more I saw him, the more I was like, he's just a very calm person. It's like every character he seemed to play, he was just calm and let's get down to business. And I love that demeanor about him. And then as I watched him over the years and even watched him in the different television shows like Walker, Texas Ranger, and things like that, it's like just I felt like who he was on screen is who he was in life. Just one of those kind of people that, you know, he's, hey, do you need anything? If not, then he just goes on his way, you know, kind of thing. And another nickname that I've had for a long time was Grasshopper, because people were like, yeah, you're like that character from Kung Fu, you know, that David Carradine plays. It's like you're really laid back until you fight. Then you turn into this other person. And I always felt like Chuck Norris was like that too, that he was just a laid back kind of person. But then when I saw him fight, it was just, I loved his focus. You know, I just, when I saw those movies like that, I want to do this. You know, it's like I didn't care about football, basketball. I mean, I wasn't great at them anyway. So, but martial arts has something I've always stuck with. And next month will be 51 years I've been doing it.
Oh my goodness. That is such an amazing accomplishment.
It is.
Absolutely, absolutely incredible. So we know that your dad's dream is to be in a Western.
Nice.
What's your dream?
To reopen my school. It was unfortunate. I finally opened my own school last year, but a few months later, the church that was located in front of the building I was leasing and other businesses were leasing, the church was destroyed by an 11 alarm fire.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so
That's a
all of
lot of
us,
alarms.
yes.
Yeah.
And I was that's another thing I did. I was a volunteer firefighter for 17 years, so I've seen destruction, you know, that can happen from a fire. So all the other businesses and I just vacated that building. You know, we was like, look, just cancel our leases. So that way they'd have a building to resume services till a new church is built. And I've been running into roadblocks, you know, with, you know, getting a new place and all that because my finances aren't the way that the banks like and certain, you know, places that I want to lease. And I respect that. Sometimes it's that, sometimes it's something else. But I know I will reopen another location. And one of the things that I've learned about my life, because when people talk about vision boards, like my walls behind me and around me, are my vision board, because when I used to create them, the two main things that were on there is being able to walk and to do martial arts. And I've gone so far beyond that that I keep looking at what's around me and saying, what else can I do? Which is why I'm back in school for other things that I'm learning, because I want to keep learning so I can keep teaching more and more. So when my school opens, I'll be even more prepared the second time.
I love that attitude. I love it so much. You guys are so wonderful. I am always so honored for the amazing people that I have the opportunity to meet through this podcast. And thank you so much for sharing your story. Please let everyone know how they can get in touch with you if they want to reach out.
Okay.
Well, for me, I mean, I'm on Facebook, I'm only on Facebook and LinkedIn. I've never been on the other platforms. So if you look for me there, it isn't me. But you can reach out to me on there. That's probably the easiest way is on Facebook.
All right. And we got to get you hooked up senior with a Western. So
Okay. Thank you very much. And
Yeah.
we'll see what we
He
can
loves
do.
Westerns.
do
I told him
appreciate
he should have been born in another part of the country because he loves Westerns. He loves the heat. I'm the opposite. I like the cold weather.
Oh, you'll love it in Texas today. I think we're going to be like 101. So
it. Fantastic.
you're welcome anytime. Come on down. We'll just
Thank you very
swap.
much. Thank you for inviting me on the show.
I've been
Appreciate
through
that.
there many times. I went through there through Amarillo a couple of weeks ago because I went out to New Mexico. We drove out. So
Yeah, it was probably a scorcher.
yes,
Uh-huh.
brought back memories.
I
like
bet. Well, to the listeners, thank you so much for being here. I hope you took away from as much from this episode as I have. It's all about the choices that we make and the outlook that we have. We shouldn't call it a mindset because that means it can't be moved, but a mind shift is always possible. Until next time, everyone, take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure is all mine.
Right.